Okay, welcome to my new series called AI Picks My Videos. And in today's video, AI says, hey, tell people how to throw discs, what kind of discs are right for them. So that's pretty much what I'm going to try to do. We're going to start with beginners and work our way up. Now, I have met Chris Dickerson a handful of times. When I talk to him, he says, now that I'm on Discraft, I said, what's the one disc you'd recommend to everyone? And he said, the Buzz. New player, old player, doesn't matter. Everyone can throw a Buzz. And I like the Buzz. I have multiple. I love the Buzz. But I don't think beginners should be throwing the Buzz. I think you are better off with something like a Buzz SS that has all the resistances of the Buzz, but not as much fade as the Buzz. So newer players will be able to get this go straighter and further. Another replacement could be something like a Peach, where the Peach says it's very understable, but it's pretty neutral to understable. It's not flippy. I throw over 400 feet, and this is still one of my favorite mid-ranges because of just how straight it goes. Same with the Buzz SS. The Buzz SS just goes a little bit further because the rim is a little bit wider. Now, if we're going to work our way up from that, most people would get something that's a neutral fairway or an understable fairway, depending on how they throw. If you throw on Anheuser or flat, Anheuser means the disc is, the outside edge is up. You're going to want something like a Strike, because the Strike is, they actually changed the numbers on it. It's 7501. It's a very, very straight disc right out of the box. Again, I throw this pretty far, and I love this disc. It's very workable. It's like a longer mid-range for me. So the only 7-speed I bag is the Strike. But if you throw something that's more on hyzer, which means the tail end is down, you want like a Sting, because the Sting will flip up a little bit, but it won't flip up and burn. Mine is max weight, so that's why it works for me. You might need to step down to something like an Inspire. That is, this one's 156 grams. They don't make them anymore. But it would flip up, drift, and it usually won't burn on you. So it won't turn into a roller. It'll just go up and go straight, and that's great if you're a hyzer player. Again, these are for hyzer players. Everyone should have every shot in the bag, but people definitely have what they are prone to throwing. And then you can take that exact mentality and just work your way up through the bag. So 9 speeds, you can get an Undertaker. This Undertaker, actually most of these Undertakers I have are very overstable. This one's pretty neutral. So this one I can pump as hard as I want, as flat as I want, and it'll just go dead straight and then fade. It says it's got a -1 turn, but I don't get that turn very often, if ever. And then if you want to keep working your way up, you can get something like a Zeus, because when you compare it to a Nuke, the Zeus is way more neutral, I would say. I don't think a Zeus is flippy by any means, but I also don't think it dumps out. The Zeus is one of my favorite distance drivers because of how far I can get it to go and how controllable in the wind and everything it is. Now, if you're an Anheuser player, you're going to want something like a Force that is overstable. So this Force is pretty neutral to overstable. I would say it's not an overstable Force out of the box. I really enjoyed it. That's why I bought 2 of them. But if I wanted a really beefy Force, this is my flat top one. This one's going to, as soon as it comes out of my hand, it wants to get to the ground. This one will fight wind, go straight, fly, glide, but will always fade. So these two complement each other a lot, especially now that I throw mainly flat to Annie. These two will be in my bag all season long. When I throw on hyzer, I want something like this Hades, because this Hades is nice and thin, so it flips up very quickly due to its thin profile. and then will turn immediately. So when I'm putting it on a ton of angle, it still flips up and over, and I can trust it. I don't trust it a lot, but I can trust it. Now, if you're a beginner, no matter what you do, you're going to want a Hades. I would say if you're not throwing anything over 300 feet yet, a Hades is going to be more than enough for you. However, if you do throw over 300 feet and you're like, I just want something that's going to be beefy but also workable for me, look for a beat-in Zeus or a beat-in Destroyer like this one. Because this one is nice and domey. I got it from a used bin when I first started playing. I never threw it because, again, it was just too much for my arm. But now that I throw it, it is really fun because it'll flip up, it'll turn, and it'll come back. And I've only thrown it like 10 times, so I didn't beat it in. I just got it like this. So don't let people try to trick you into buying new discs. Buy old discs to fit the slots that you need to. For instance, I love, this one has a sticker on it. I love Halo plastic, but Halo plastic is very overstable. But I dyed a bunch of them, as you can see, and I just want to keep throwing them. So since it's overstable, I don't like the Savant because it's basically a Thunderbird. So it's workable and usable, but it's not what I want in my bag. So I have this Halo Sidewinder, which is essentially a Star Thunderbird. So it just goes dead straight for 380 feet and then fades. I mean, this one, now that I've used it a lot, will start wiggling in the wind and stuff, but it really just wants to go dead straight because it's an understable disc in an overstable plastic. So I can buy these brand new because I love the look of them, and it will fit that stable, straight slot in my bag, despite its numbers being anything but that. And I think that kind of works well for everyone. The staples that you probably need in your bag are like an understable putter, so you can get, casual approach shots, because if you're doing a standstill, it's a lot easier to just throw something that's slightly flippy to maintain itself, because you don't want to be having a putter dump out right at the basket 20 feet and then leave yourself a 20-footer when if it stayed straight, it would have been a tap-in. So that's why I like having an understable approach shot disc. I like having an overstable approach shot disc because forehanding something on hyzer is probably the easiest thing to do in the game. Haley King talks about not even having a backhand approach because she was so used to just looking at a target and flicking her wrist right at it. So now she had to work on the backhand approach. So you want something like a mint. And if a mint is too much, start with a Jawbreaker Zone. I think the Jawbreaker Zone is one of the best discs in the world because it still has a little bit of that torque resistant. But I can throw this thing on a slight hyzer. It'll flip up. It'll go forever, and it'll still dump. So I'm pushing this thing close to 300 feet, and it's a zone. So I could replace a couple discs in my bag just because I have a beat-in zone. And even on backhand, I know I can rip it flat, and it'll still come back, and it'll go a mile because it's a thin putter. So I think a nice Jawbreaker Zone should be in everyone's bag, at least to practice with. And then a pro tip is don't look at the flight numbers because they're just going to screw you up. So this heat is 9.6 -3.1, so it should be incredibly flippy. Far flippier than my 7.5 -2 disc. But this disc is more flippy than this one. But for some reason, they're both still kind of stable. They don't want to flip over and burn. So I can pump both of these. I throw this heat 400 feet, and it's a 9-speed. Most of the time, I don't even need a distance driver. I just like knowing that the wide rim will have it fade. But I can pump this forever. So if you get a heat and you're a new player, don't think that something could be wrong. Let me say, you should be looking at these numbers and going, okay, it should be flipping up and over, but mine just goes dead straight. This goes dead straight for me, and I'm throwing 400 feet. So a lot of the times, don't look at the flight numbers. Just find the flight of the disc that you like. I think this is great for hyzer players, great for flat players, and great for anhyzer players. Everyone could have a heat in the bag, and it would work out pretty well for them. Whether it be for a roller, a flat shot, or a hyzer flip, it's gonna, yeah, anyone can use it. That's pretty much everything. Make sure that no matter what player you are, you have a neutral to understable mid-range, like a fuse, or even something that people sleep on a lot. Here's a little pro tip. The Warship is a 5601 disc, so it has relatively no fade. But this thing goes like 350 feet for me. It goes forever. Like these are, I think the Warship might be one of the furthest flying mid-ranges I've ever thrown. And I've thrown all of them. Trusts, I like the Trust. I like the Hex, Buzzes, the Berry. I've thrown M3s, and I still think that the Warship is a very underrated one, and no one bags it, so you'd probably be pretty special if you bagged it. But yeah, so I hope that helped someone. Thanks, Chatgpt, for telling me to do this, and just have a great day. Keep slinging them discs. Shout out Brody.